Hi everyone. Sorry I'm not updating as much as I was. I don't know that I ever was because I had like a 5 month gap or something between my last video. But anyway, I'm just a little under the weather this week. I'm having some, I don't know what it is. I wrenched my knee, I think in my sleep. I woke up with like barely able to move my knee and it wasn't comfortable in any position. And, and having, I don't know if it's reactions to medication or if I gave myself food poisoning, but my stomach has been a wreck all week. So I've been kind of grounded at home and not, not even doing the things I normally do. Like I'm already disabled and stay at home a lot, but I was at least working out regularly before the holidays, and I was looking forward to getting back on, schedule, back to normal on that, because it helps my mood, it helps my energy level, it helps with my pain management, etc., etc. Helps with a lot of the conditions that I'm struggling with. So anyway, I always, look, I'm old and I am, finding out I have ADHD in my 50s. So yeah, I'm gonna like meander. So I wanted to do something a little more fun, because I know the last week and a half has been hard. I've seen just a lot of horrible, nasty stuff online, and I think not having been a huge fan of Stranger Things, like I always watched it every year, like I liked it, but since Game of Thrones, I think I never got that deep into a show because that was such a letdown at the end, and even then, I don't think I got into fandom spaces where I was interacting with other fans and seeing people argue theory or getting nasty with each other. And with the whole Byler thing, Bylers in particular, being targeted as delusional, dumb, and I'm using some air quotes here. The number of times I've been called those things in the last month is insane. And, I'm a middle-aged lady. I can take it. And it's making me realize how much young queer kids have been getting. So one thing I want to say to anyone that fits the bill, and you don't have to be, part of the LGBT community to even feel that way. Just being biracial in the 80s, I got so much hate. I got told no one was going to love me. I got all that crap. And if anything, that affected, a lot of relationships that I could have had because the guys that were attracted to me did think I was pretty, did think I was interesting or funny or smart or whatever, and were drawn to me, didn't know how to read me. And that got in the way. And also, if you don't know what signals to look for, you're missing them, right? So people weren't telling me what it looks like for someone to like me. They were telling me no one could like me. And that's people that did get to know me. That's friends. Not my male friends. I will point that out. Men aren't always as toxic as sometimes we talk about in the culture. Male friends, I pretty rarely told me guys weren't interested in me. In fact, male friends were like, wait, he didn't eat for you? Like, I love you and we're good friends, but if I'm hungry before we're supposed to, hang out and have dinner, I'm going to eat. I'm not waiting for you, babe. And I had a male friend in particular who was like 10 years older than me and really talented and smart and really got me on those levels. But he would also tell me I was so beautiful and I was this and this and that. And, there were all these men that would climb across, some oceans to be with you. And I thought he was being charitable because of how much I was hearing the opposite from people my own age. And, sometimes people your own age can't see that in you and they're dealing with their own insecurities, so these are just things from life experience that, I hope you'll take some hope from, because it's hard being a teenager. Your hormones are insane. You have all these big feelings, and I'm not saying that to belittle your feelings. It's just that with more life experience, you can kind of manage the feelings better. And again, yes, the hormones are heightened. Just like, I'm going through menopause. When I first started going through menopause and before I started taking supplements, some of my emotions were really heightened, because of those hormonal changes. For example, the two extreme emotions I had at a certain point were crying jags and rage. And either one could be triggered by the smallest thing or for no reason I could trace. I would just suddenly be in tears. It might be over a commercial or a TV show. It might be over an actual interaction. It might just come out of nowhere. And the same with the rage. Like, I would just be like, I'd feel like the Hulk all of a sudden, right? And I found supplements that help me with those things and help me sleep better, and those things abate it. So some of it is hormonal, some of it is because you're also having the first real romantic feelings you're having, and then if you're queer on top of that, then you may have to question what you thought you quote unquote should feel or do feel, or the person you're feeling them for, or could they possibly also be gay? Like, that would only exponentially increase that, right? So, that's a very long-winded way to intro what I wanted to talk about. I can't believe it's already 6 minutes, which is just something fun I wanted to talk about. And I have played this game 6 Degrees because I found that just because of it's not even one or two people in my life, but different people I've met in my life, that I'm connected to a lot of famous people. Now, if you know about 6 Degrees theory, it's the idea that all people are connected within 6 degrees of separation, meaning there's, only 5 people in between you and another person. And any other person on Earth. It's just so happens, obviously it's easier to do that with famous people because you know who they've dated or acted with or who their relatives are, etc. So it would be harder to do that with individuals unless you were in the same high school or college, and even then you're all kind of in the same place, right? So, but I have even found that to be the case because of social media. And there used to be a site called 6 Degrees before Facebook kind of took over as more popular. Like about 20 years ago, there was a website called 6 Degrees, and I would find that people I knew from the school that I was at around that time, but also a lot of these people lived in New York, so had those connections. But I was finding even people that I knew from this college or were connected to people I knew in California or whatever. So, but I wanted to talk about that today, that, I'm a nobody from nowhere. My parents aren't famous. They are not rich. I grew up lower middle class in working class neighborhoods in Southern California. So it's not like, of course my parents know actors and actresses and famous people. No, they, actually my dad grew up with some people that ended up being famous. I talked about that in another video, the one with Vivica A. Fox in the thumbnail, and that's because he's from Indianapolis, and so Midwestern cities were segregated just like Southern cities, and so if you were black in Indianapolis before they became a little bit less segregated, or my Black great-grandparents were able to buy a house in a more middle-class neighborhood. All the black people lived in the same place. So any of the black people that are famous in Indianapolis, my dad would have grown up with, like Vivica A. Fox. I mentioned Meshach Taylor, and there's a boxer named Marvin Johnson. So it's such an interesting theory because it works in so many different ways. And so, yeah, I'm connected to those people, and I think that my family knew the Epps brothers as well, from growing in Indianapolis, but also from various ways I'm connected. I had this friend that I used to play mahjong with, and she was a hair colorist in New York, and a lot of her clients were celebrities. So she, for example, some of her clients were like Sarah Jessica Parker, I know, was one of her clients, and she made these crystal studded phones and hairbrushes in the early aughts, around the end of the original Sex and the City series. So when Sarah Jessica Parker looks at her phone and it's Big calling, and we find out his name on her screen, it says John. My friend did that phone, or at least it was modeled after a phone she did for Sarah Jessica Parker, and she did like phones for like J-Lo and Lindsay Lohan and all these celebrities at that point. This was like a very trendy thing that she did these phones, and I built the website for her initial website to sell these things. Anywho, so she's one connection, but then one of my bosses knew, I think it was Paul from Peter, Paul and Mary, my when I lived in San Francisco, there was an actor in my building, and I will occasionally see him in things. Like, he was in an episode of Will and Grace with, I think it was J-Lo. I think he was like the choreographer, and it was the original Will and Grace. So this is 20 years ago that I happened to see him on this show, and we lived in the same building in San Francisco like 30 years ago, and I only knew he was an actor because I worked at a hotel and I got tickets to his play, and then had seen him in and out of my building, and we would chat, bumping into each other on the street and stuff. And so he's one of my big connections. I mentioned previously my friend who won RuPaul's Drag Race, so he connects me to RuPaul, which then connects me to all these other people. In fact, just thinking of that, RuPaul was in But I'm a Cheerleader with Natasha Lyonne, which connects me to the whole cast of Orange is the New Black. So as I was about to record this, the Stranger Things connection I was originally going to mention was Maya Hawke. So I'm connected to the cast of Stranger Things because a friend of mine worked for Maya Hawke's grandfather, Bob Thurman, who's Uma Thurman's dad, and she got me a job interview with him. And so that puts me, if you count Uma, 2 degrees of separation, but obviously Maya Hawke probably knew her own grandfather. I'm not sure if he's still alive or not. I haven't checked. But anyway, so that puts me 1 or 2 degrees away of separation away from Maya Hawke and the whole Stranger Things cast. And now I'm forgetting the other connection I had. It's hard being being this age and already probably having ADHD my whole life that now I don't remember the other connection that I thought of. But for me, the point is not bragging like, oh, I'm so connected to Hollywood. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, oh, I'm so impressive, I'm so whatever. What I'm saying is that if you're sensitive and artistic, if you're gay, if you're different, in many ways that emboldens you to embrace the opposite of conformity, right? Of taking your chances, right? You're already kind of a misfit, so, why be an accountant? Why be what your parents want you to be? If you're already just so different, go into writing, go into art. I'm seeing such amazing art and writing from Byler fans online, and I'm really impressed as someone who has multiple degrees in writing, like the ideas and the creativity and frankly the cohesion of the world building is very good, better than some of the professional writers who've been paid to do this stuff. So, hold on to those dreams and pursue them and focus on them. I always lost focus because of money and dudes and dumb stuff. A lot of it was money though, and that is hard to get over, but my advice is keep your expenses low when you're a kid and a young adult. Work 2 jobs if you have to, but never forget that your goal is to write or create or sell your art or whatever the thing is, or act, whatever it is you're passionate about, because you can do it, and plenty of people have done it before you. So again, it's not to brag about me or my connections, because a lot of them are not necessarily like I could call that person tomorrow and get something, right? It's just that you don't know the path in life that you're going to be on. And even the path that you choose, you don't know where it's going to lead. And it's led me to interesting, creative, funny, talented, compassionate, amazing people. So I know this is such a hard time for young people who have so much hope because of this show. And I've realized with the way people are responding to me online, how kids are getting bullied about this show and about, being queer. And I hope that at least me confronting these bullies helps them. Maybe they'll question themselves more. Maybe it will take some of their attention and time away from bullying, queer teens. But I just thought things had gotten better, but I obviously know that the last couple of years, at least in the United States, things have gone backwards, and that does happen throughout history. I think that I don't know the Martin Luther King quote, but it's something like history bends toward, truth and love and the good things, but there are setbacks, there are reversals, there is regression, and we're in a regressive time, at least in the United States. So hold on to that. Don't lose faith in yourself and your goodness and your talent, and that you have things to contribute to the world. If my friend that, won Drag Race had thought that what he should be as an accountant, I don't mean to beat up on accountants, but, like a stable, safe career, whether that's even an attorney or whatever, or a doctor, then he wouldn't have been probably as happy as he is. He wouldn't have traveled all over the world with Tyra Banks for Top Model. He wouldn't have met his idols like RuPaul. Because I remember us in our dorms in college watching RuPaul videos and Delight videos. And he introduced me to both of those artists. And I'm so proud of him that he pursued that, because I kind of waffled back and forth of trying to go the law school route versus the writing route, and kind of accomplished neither, and haven't published any of my work or sold any of my work. So it's made me, I've been so inspired by this community that I want to go back and, focus on polishing and selling some of the work that I've already done. And it's helped me start creating again. So I want you to just keep that in the back of your mind always. Never forget, you have gifts. You have so much to share with the world. You don't know where that path is going to take you. You could be that, not only that artist, but you can be that muse that helps other artists, and someday as a mentor to little baby gays, little baby drag queens, or baby artists, that are right out of high school or college. So if you focus on what you're meant to do, you can help uplift other people, and you'll be that 6-degree connection for someone else to get into the field that you thought you could never do. You can make magic, and you can have love and success and heart and hope and everything that you dream of. So just try to keep the bullies out of your mind. I know that online bullying is pretty gross. I've been getting a lot of it. It's just that it doesn't affect me the same way as if I was I realize how isolated someone might be as a queer teen, whose family might be very religious or very, homophobic, or even if they don't know, because some people are sort of outwardly homophobic, but if it's their own kid, they can grow and accept it, right? Like, there's a range. So I know that a lot of people in general, but especially if you're a teenager and you feel like you're the only gay person in your small town or in your community, or you're from a religious community or something, the internet is the only way you're going to be able to connect with queer people and form any sense of community that accepts you. And so I know how hurtful, I can imagine how hurtful this is. So please hold on to your dreams and to who you are. Don't let other people make you doubt yourself. And if that does happen, just keep reminding yourself, keep going back to things that fuel your self-love and your dreams and hopes, because that's what's going to get you to them. And there are always going to be people that want to knock you down, no matter, in fact, at my age. I have people that really should support and love me, but put way more energy into knocking me down, and that sucks. It still sucks at my big age. But I want to be sure that young people, I don't mean to be patronizing, but I think it's so important. I wish I had stayed more focused when I was young, because I didn't know I was going to become disabled. I didn't know I was going to struggle to just do basic functioning, and that now I have very little energy or time to do my art or lots of things, or even live in New York and things that I took for granted when I was young. So just remember to focus on your dreams, and honestly, live as cheaply as you can when you're young. I wish I had known that I could have bought an RV for a few $1,000s and lived in it. That would have saved me tens of thousands, if not $100,000 in rent over the years, that I could have used to buy a house or a condo when they were less expensive in New York. I could have done so much more if I had known that things like that were possible. And so whatever it takes for you to hold on to your dreams, whether that's, I was working 9-to-5 jobs, and if I was an actor, I wouldn't have been able to audition, right? Like that, so if you have to do, that's why people do waiting tables, right? If they're into acting, whatever it is that enables you to maintain your focus and be able to put time and energy into your goals while you're young. Just don't give up that drive. I kind of got distracted by other things, and I just advise you not to do that. It's so much harder to do when you're older, and you don't know if you're going to become disabled or have kids or other things that are going to keep you from doing those things. So just work really hard, keep your focus, and believe in yourself, because sometimes there are days where you're the only one you have, and so it's really important. So just remember, someday you might be that sixth degree or that first degree that connects someone to the job that changes their life, and someone that you know or meet in college or waiting tables or anything could be your degree that gets you to the audition, to the agent that's going to help you get published or get a role or whatever your creative dreams are. So take care, keep the faith.